Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be watching this. We are now at the gaming circle for one more round of interesting, hopefully, conversation. You are watching this at 8 o'clock in the morning this time. We're trying to change our times up, but we appreciate you watching, even if you happen to be catching this on demand later on. I am Kay Asante, and as you know, on this podcast, we're trying to take the stories of the day, the issues of the month, of the moment, and break it apart, try to find the real deal issues there and have a conversation, have a debate, possibly come to some good understanding. And on this journey, I do this with the man that needs no introduction, but I give him one anyway. Mr. Everborn Saga, how you doing, sir?
I'm all right. Good long week. I finally got a chance to do some gaming. Been staying up till I think 3 a.m. playing Resident Evil Village. Fun times. And I've been trying to avoid Returnal until the update thing gets sorted out because I want to get back to that too. So
we're gonna have a conversation about that one too.
I've been dodging controversy all week.
Very good, very good. So as you know, this is I guess this will be our second episode, and we're trying to change things up. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the show notes that I put together real quick, but I thought this week we'll change it up a little bit and share with the folks some games that we have been playing this week. So I'll let you get started, Mr. Everborn. What games have been catching your eye? What's been keeping you busy this week?
So I have fun fact, because Monday, we had that like gargantuan drop of frame rate boost games, the FPS
we're
boost,
gonna get into that. Yes, we're gonna
74
get into that.
games. Yes. I was just sort of like at a buffet, like, ooh, let's try this.
Indeed.
Titanfall 2. I never beat that one. Right. So I've been playing Titanfall 2. I've been playing ReCore. Right. I had a whole thread about ReCore, and especially with the 60 FPS, pretty good.
Pretty good, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah. So ReCore I've been playing. I'm stuck, so I put it down, and that's kind of one of those. It's almost like a problem with Game Pass, right? Because now you just jump from thing to thing, and I never finish anything anymore. But then I've been waiting all week for Resident Evil Village. I've been very excited about this game. I did not play 7, right? And this is a direct sequel to 7, right? It's when they jumped into the first person realm. And man, that opening with Chris Redfield doing what he does, I didn't understand the significance, because I like when people watch the trailer, I'm like, oh, he just killed somebody. No, that is Ethan's wife that he just kills right at the opening. So
yes. Those who remember all of the lore, the gasps are like to be heard from miles away as soon as you see that scene.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I never knew, and now I understand. So I'm playing that, and I have to say, it really gives me like Resident Evil 1 vibes in the best ways. The way they designed the castle that you're in, the mansion, like you really feel those vibes. And I didn't think I would like Resident. This is why I didn't play 7. I didn't think I would like it in the first person perspective, right? But I think they took everything that was the heart of Resident Evil from the beginning, and it's there. So I'm very excited about it. I'm going to see how far I get into it this weekend. That's what I'm going to be doing all weekend, and then I'll come back to Return.
I'll be honest with you. I'm waiting for all of the hype to die down before I dig into that. Ever since the Resident Evil that allowed for VR. I forget the name of which one.
Yeah. But I know they're doing 4 now. That's going to be on the Quest, right? Like I do want to try that.
I want to try too. Yeah, but ever since that last full mainline VR that was playable in VR, like Resident Evil, I've been a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to it, because there were some real moments of oh my goodness in that game, and of course, I, being the fool that I am, I opted to play the whole thing in VR. So it took me a while. Let's just say. So
was that on the PS5, or did they have that on the Oculus?
No, they had that on the PS4, believe it or not.
PS4, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, it was a PS4. And like, okay, so we discussed this in the before the show, and we will have a conversation about it probably at some point. We're big VR enthusiasts. We have our headsets and whatnot, so you will most likely hear some VR talk from us in the near future. But that's not what we're here for today. But still, so yeah, since that time, I've been a little bit apprehensive. I did finish it, but with this new one coming, I'm like, I'm sure they're gonna have a VR option. I would like to play it that way, but I'm like, I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat, and the graphics just keep getting better and better. So I'm just like, I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I have been playing, pretty much similar to you, since FPS boost became a thing, I basically revisited a bunch of my stuff, including Recore. You know, it's amazing how smooth and how amazing that game plays. Wow. Yes, there's still a lot of you can see the glaring omissions in gameplay and ideas there. It's a little bit disparate sometimes, like you're walking the desert and you know something pops up, you shoot it. It gives you, now I see the Returnal comparisons,
right? But
you know?
it's like
but it's very light, very
it's like
a
budget Returnal, right?
Budget Returnal.
I wish someone could take sort of the because I love the traversal of Recore, and I like the weapon upgrade. But I wish there was more there, right? Because it can get, even though I've seen a bit of variety. There's variety there, but it still can feel repetitive, especially when you're walking through the desert. There's nothing there. It feels like, and you know, before the FPS boost, I was playing it through xCloud, so it kind of feels like. And I was playing it, you know, with the Backbone. It's a really good mobile game, right? Believe it or not,
it is,
right?
It really it lends well to that mobile interface. Yes,
that's what it feels like. The problem, though, I think, is like I wish it was given maybe a better budget. I'd love to see it revisited, like maybe a Recore 2, where they really realize the world, but keep the same sort of exploration and weapon upgrade mechanic.
I completely agree.
When you think that game, which has a pretty similar premise to Horizon Zero Dawn, that those games were 6 months apart, it kind of tells you
right?
everything you need to know about the previous generation.
That's right. Tells you where their priorities were, tells you what Microsoft was, where they were thinking, tells you what Sony was thinking. Take nothing away from Sony. They have such an eye. They have such a, when it comes to while Microsoft seems to have an eye for the technology in the future and all of that, Sony seems to have an eye of, hey, this is where we need to go from a storytelling perspective, from the depth, from the breadth, from all the lore and everything else. This is how we're supposed to put things together. While Microsoft was busy going, let's make sure their saves carry wherever they need to go. Things like that.
But I think that's the thing. I think every platform has brought something
core competencies
to gaming, right? And you know, I keep saying this. Sony is a movie studio. They are always going to have better stories,
and they leverage that.
Always have scripts that are laying around that maybe not good enough for like a actual live action franchise, but in an interactive format, they work. So you can always, if you're expecting Microsoft to make games that sort of have that kind of story level that in a lot of these Sony games, maybe you'll see it once in a while.
It'll take some time. Yeah, that's not their core competency. And as we know, they keep buying up, and they keep buying up studios that have a lot of Sony developers in it. They keep bringing them over. So and obviously we saw that the internal review stuff that came out about they reviewing Sony games. They know where they need to go. They themselves are saying that, right? Even in their own internal reviews, they're saying, hey, you know, The Last of Us 2 was a masterpiece. That's the place we need to go. They're saying that themselves. So
and
it's only a matter of time until we start seeing them striking a similar tone. I'm hoping they don't strike the exact same tone, because we don't need more daddy issue video games. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, but it works, right?
Sure, I want that quality level, but maybe different subject matter a little bit. You know.
If you think about this, every Disney movie that you loved growing up, it had to do with the parents dying.
Oh yeah,
kind of like
dad dies quick.
Right. What are you trying to tell me, Disney? Right.
So please, you know, stop hitting me over the head with Bambi's parents dying. They started in the 20s and 30s, and they just kept doing it. You know, this person died, that person. It's always the parents.
Right. But the point is, these things work, and Sony's calculation is, hey, gaming was dominated by, mostly boys from like the gaming of the gamers today, of the console gamers today. A lot of them were the boys of the 80s, right? And 90s, right?
Yep.
And
now
so
they're parents with their kids. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the ththing that appeals. And they're the ones with the dollars that are spending money. Right. And so
indeed.
It works. So as long as me and you are in our, 30s, 40s or whatever, you're going to keep getting those gains, and people.
That's right. And then we're going to be introducing them to our youngins, and, and the cycle keeps moving forward. Yes. So, okay. Usually I would see, if there are some new games we're playing, we recommend something, but this week has been dominated with so much Game Pass stuff that we just I played Recore, you played Recore. I think I played a little bit of Titanfall 2. I've beaten that game, but just that smooth gameplay just had me go back, to play it a little bit more. I played some Sleeping Dogs. I don't know if you've ever seen that game before.
Never even heard of it.
If you have not played Sleeping Dogs, do yourself a favor. They've been giving that game away forever. Like at some point, it's like single-digit dollars, $5, $4.99. That game is the best Grand Theft Auto in Hong Kong ever. Like the characters, the gameplay, it is so good and so underrated. It's so good.
I want to try Judgment. I keep hearing about it.
I want to try Judgment
like
as well. I want to try Judgment 100%.
Yes. It's an action Yakuza, right? Because Yakuza's time-based.
It's kind of like It's kind of like Sleeping Dogs.
Okay,
dude, you need to. It's a game of, I would say, 360 Xbox One gen, but man, it deserves a lot more credit than it has gotten. And now that it's in 60 frames, it looks and plays so great on the Series X. You have to play it.
I was on K Mega's channel, and this is
I saw the video. Yeah.
So there's something that we brought up that I don't think gets talked about enough. Something that I'd like to see come out of the future, technology wise. Mm-hmm. If we're going down this whole Game Pass route, and if we are sort of like backhandedly sort of upgrading these older games with no input from the input, like I'm sure they have to get the
approval from the devs. Yeah.
Right. What I'm wondering is when you have this like DLSS like technology, but I think it's called Fidelity FX on the AMD side. Yeah. Which is what we would be using, or what's Microsoft's version of it? Direct ML or
Direct ML. Yes. Yeah. Direct ML. Yeah. So direct machine learning.
Right. So if we can do that to sort of load in lower res textures, but not render them, but like display them on
through AI, display them at the higher resolution, higher rendered resolution. Yeah.
Can we do that the same way we do the FPS boost in the Auto HDR? Can we do that to the textures on the older games that weren't designed to do that? Right. As we read in the textures, so that we'll play these old games, and then not only will they be 60 FPS, but they'll
also look better.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the thing, okay? And Microsoft hasn't been very forthcoming with their tech. I'm the tech guy. I love that kind of stuff, but I've been digging through trying to find some information on the exact ins and outs of that they use for their backward compatibility. And there's some dribs and drabs out there, but they haven't really like come full-throated with like a white paper, this is how it's done. But from what we've gathered, the reason why the reason why a lot of the tech is like, and it's done without any kind of developer input, or not input, but any kind of developer work. They just get approval and they're done, is because they're using virtual machines. Like, and I don't want to go too deep into the technical waters, but basically it's software that thinks it's hardware, right? So on the outside of that computer, you have virtual RAM, virtual CPUs, virtual everything, virtual graphics cards. So they poke on the outside and the game on the inside responds. So that's why they're able to do a lot of this stuff without the actual code being touched. They're just touching the outside virtual software, and that is then presumably giving the game inside of it different responses. So it's like, here's some virtual RAM, and then the game runs faster. And I'm obviously simplifying, but here's virtual RAM. The game sees more RAM, uses more RAM. That's why some games can and some games can't. Some games are ready, set to use whatever you give them. So if you give them something virtually more, it sees there's something virtually more and uses it. Other games are static, locked in. So whether you like it or not, it'll give you 30 frames because that's how the dev wrote it in the first place. I say all this to say things like Fidelity FX that takes the original rendering resolution and blows it up requires actually touching of the code.
Right.
I don't know that they'll figure it out. They might, because these guys are freaking wizards. Like, the things they have done are beyond amazing. So if there's a chance for them to do so, they will. And I think even in certain instances, they have touched the code and like stretched the resolution to double the textures, the texture frame rates and things, texture resolution and things like that. But as of right now, as from the what's publicly available, it seems like their method, they would prefer making it, hey guys, hey developer, this is what we want to do with your game, and guess what? All you have to do is say yes, and it's done, right? And what you're asking for may require some, hey, we'll even still do it, but you have to authorize us cracking open the code, and that may be a deal breaker for some. Right. That's the reason why some of those games have not come over from backward compatibility, because they haven't been able to get them to approve things like that.
And there's also like licensing issues, but
exactly, licensing being also a big factor in the equation. Yeah.
Because I just think if there's a way to do something like that, and maybe there's not, maybe it's pie in the sky, right? But if there's a way to do
if there's a way of figuring out, they can, for sure,
right? Yeah. Because then it's like you almost don't even have old games anymore at that point, right? Yes. Like so you have the updated frame rates. You can have what looks like to your eye as 4K textures, like. I mean, obviously there's character models and AI and things like that, but still, some of these games are classic. So if you have those updated graphics, like,
it is. That's right. So that's a good transition to the topic of the day. It's good you bring that up, because that transitions nicely to what I wanted to discuss with you today. Which, if you've checked the thumbnail, today's episode is all about Game Pass. Now, in my in my show notes, I wrote the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we don't need to go that far with it. We might for sure. We might. What I mean by the good, the bad, and the ugly is the perception that has come with the Game Pass as a thing in this industry, right? The perceived good, the perceived bad, the perceived ugly of that folks have been talking about and thinking about while Game Pass is taking over our gaming sphere. So I wanted to give you a chance because there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, about Game Pass, and I hear you chatted up on various shows. There's been a community conversation about Game Pass that has not died down, right? And Microsoft is very big about reminding you that Game Pass is the platform, right? Even if there's a week of non-conversation, there is some Game Pass conversation. They just threw a bunch of FPS boost games in Game Pass. So now not only do you get to experience them, there are 120 frame games out there. It's amazing, right? What is your overarching, and we're not trying to come at this from, PlayStation gamer, Xbox gamer, as a gamer in 2021, what is your overall perception of Game Pass in this space currently? We'll start there.
I don't know. So it's weird what they've been able to do with it, right? And and even in the show notes, you're like, it's managed to excite gamers more than Microsoft has itself in years. And you cannot have a conversation today without sort of bringing it up. Everyone, even people who don't like Xbox, cannot help but talk about it. And that sort of mind share is huge.
Yeah.
Even the people who's like, there's no reason for me to get an Xbox are still like, yeah, but I'll get Game Pass, right? And then when a game comes out, we're at the point where like you're kind of surprised when it's not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember
that's now become the deciding factor in your purchasing decision. I guess I'll wait until it's in Game Pass, or maybe it'll come to Game Pass. There's a lot there.
So, and it's weird because every time one of us in this community, you can't point a show to me, a podcast. Mm-hmm. I don't care who it's from, where at least once in an episode, Game Pass doesn't get brought up.
Is mentioned. That's right. Yeah.
Right. So it has sort of permeated the consciousness of the gaming conversation, and Indeed. is still, that is going to spread out further to sort of the casuals, because there's still people that I explain this to
don't know, yeah,
and they're like, really? Outriders? Right?
Indeed, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so we get caught in these bubbles and we don't understand. But I think once the proverbial Timmy's mom finds out about this thing, it's a wrap,
as they say.
so the good of it is, I think it's the future. I think everyone is moving towards that model. I think Microsoft is sort of finding out what the business model is, right? And we can talk about this sort of Apple versus Epic case that is like airing everyone's dirty laundry, right?
Laundry out there. Right? That's right. For sure.
I mean, Epic, and I'm gonna keep it on topic, but Epic really. And Tim Sweeney, they really kind of come off like assholes in this thing. Like,
they are crusaders, man. They're throwing their money around. It's crazy.
I don't know, man.
I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm really not saying I agree with them, but they're throwing their money around. Like, you can definitely see he's coming at it with an agenda. You can definitely tell that.
Right, because Fortnite is the thing that has made them,
buttloads of money.
Being a $1 billion company, right? And because of that, Fortnite might not be hot forever. But if they can change this conversation around for them and maybe turn Fortnite into its own platform, then
which it's becoming little by little.
Right. It's like Minecraft, right?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
But like, if you look at some of the emails to Phil Spencer, he's like, oh, like we, preferably you can change this rate for everybody, but if you don't, just give us a provisional, like, you know what I mean? Like, just do it for us. Like, so it's almost like that's really what they're there for, right? Because that's what that whole case is about. Like, look, Apple.
While all the while they got commercials and ads going, "We are the righteous man," and in the background they're going, "You could change it, just change it for us. We're happy with it."
Reminds me of Godwin in Prince of Arcadia, but that's another.
Oh yes, there we go.
That's another thing. So but the really back to the point, the good of it, and I do want to come back to that Apple case if we can.
Yeah. We'll chop it up. Yeah.
But the good of it is, to me, and Netflix model, that's not new. Everyone compares it to that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But forget about the business model of it. I'm saying the creativity that it allows, right? There are things in Netflix that never would have gotten greenlit by studios.
Because of the Netflix model. Yeah.
Right. And Netflix will do it because it's content and they know that someone will like it. And so there are movies that maybe I'm not going out to the theater and spending my, $18 on a ticket plus nachos, and then I got to bring the whole family there. So it becomes $100 thing. Right.
That's right.
So, and then I'm going to be looking at it with a more critical eye because I spent so much money, and people look at this as a bad thing, right? They're saying, oh, you're going to have filler in there. But I don't think that that's the case, because how many Oscar nominated movies has Netflix had in the past 3 years? Right?
Yeah, because they've gotten to a level where they're trying to compete now, right? That idea that the folks be talking about as far as, oh, there's filler, there's that used to be a thing. But that was in the early days of Netflix when they were trying to find their stride, when they caught that idea that, hey, our own content is king because everybody else's content is trying to leave us. They don't want us to rise. So they decided, okay, well, we're going to start putting our own budget in place and competing with the rest of these folks. And since then, that's where we are. And I think Microsoft equally is doing exactly the same thing. They're doubling up on those third-party deals, but on the back end, they're doing their own thing to get set for when the time comes, they can release their own, Jupiter Ascendings or whatever. That's the new Netflix thing.
Right, and they can have their own. They have their own. Netflix is at the point where they have their own release every week.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's the ideal. Yeah.
Need anyone else's content at this point.
That's right.
Right. But the point I'm making is there are movies that I would never even try, especially if I had to go and pay for the movie. But if it's in a subscription, I will watch it. And I might be a little bit less critical because I'm like, you know what?
Because you
I'm in
didn't
my
spend too
home.
much in your
Right.
pocket.
I'm in my home. I'm in my boxers. I can sit back and I can watch this thing.
You can just chill out.
And I'm good. And I'll say this is a good time. Now, with Game Pass, it sort of allows me to say, like we just talked about Recore. We talked about Titanfall 2. I wouldn't go and play those things right now, but I'm like, hey, let me try it. And I can take recommendations that I would not have paid attention to before. And this will allow developers to sort of create, like everybody, sort of gets mad about like everything has to be a looter shooter now, right? Everything has to be a game as a service now, but Game Pass says no, it doesn't.
So let me throw that out there. That's the fear, right? Let's speak on that a bit, and you can explain. The fear is because that is now the world we live in, right? Where Game Pass has become such a focal point that folks want to point to as the subscriber base grows, which last report was 22 million and counting, right? The numbers were a little fuzzy there. By now it's probably even more. That will then bring us to a point where every game will get judged by is this Game Pass worthy or not? And if it isn't in Game Pass, then every game turns into a Outriders type of game where it's a looter shooter. It gives you an okay story, but the idea would be then that it will live and die based on microtransactions because they've already gotten you in the door. It's kind of like that idea, and where we do a lot of movie comparisons around here. It's like Stubbs A-list. I will go to a movie and buy popcorn because I didn't pay for the movie. But if I did pay for the movie, I might have more of a hard time paying for popcorn.
Right.
That's the fear that then gears the content towards that kind of media. What is your thoughts on that?
I don't think so, right? Because I think the goal, right? And even if there are other sort of studios that do that, I think that the goal with the 23 studios, right? And maybe more, but that becomes more difficult as we see with Discord, because once you announce you're buying more stuff and people know you're a $2 trillion company, they're like, hey man, it's a buyer's market.
Wagons get
right?
circled.
right? So I think that you'll have these games from these sort of Microsoft studios that will release, and they'll release what they want. And I think that those will serve that need, right? To sort of, it doesn't have to be all microtransaction or MMO kind of thing, right? Like so like Bethesda or ZeniMax Online had to make, what's it called? Elder Scrolls Online, right? They didn't really want to make that, but that was what was hot at the
what
time.
They had to do it. That's right.
Now they can, and the same thing happened with Wolfenstein, but now they can make a game that doesn't have to have those hooks in it. So I think that the Microsoft studios will fill that sort of void and not have to make those kind of games. And I think we'll see a lot of indie developers do that as well, right? So they may not have a service-based game, but I do think you'll see a lot of service-based games. But the other model here is that Game Pass games are not like they're not going to be an exclusive kind of thing, right? So you can get the players in, right, and get the marketing and mind share by going into Game Pass. Meanwhile, you're going to get your sales from the PlayStation and PC. And we've seen this happen, right? We've seen how these games perform in other.
The rebuttal to that is much like how you have Netflix now having certain media that's only accessible on Netflix, right? Because there are certain Netflix shows that now, of course, they've matured to a point where they can have their own exclusive content, right? It's not like every Netflix show or movie is then available digitally sold elsewhere or also on physical media. There are Netflix exclusive things. The fear, and I'm trying to devil's advocate here, the fear being that while they're gobbling up all these devs to then feed the beast that is Netflix, right? That is a Game Pass. The fear becomes that once they've gobbled up all that huge amount of developer base and they're churning out those exclusives, they then become the democratized, cheap, not so it's not as quality of a game because it's made for Netflix, kind of made for Game Pass kind of thing. That's the fear around.
No, I don't think so. And
The
I'll tell you why.
third-party entries will always be of that quality because they're trying to spread the block. They're trying to sell it everywhere. The worry is what happens to all of those Netflix, I keep doing that, Game Pass exclusives that come out. Can we expect them to be at that high level clip of the ones that are being sold?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. It's the same reason that Netflix, even though they have, 200 million subscribers, still want to be nominated for Oscars and win Oscars because it brings in more subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
And so the notoriety of saying we have this quality of games will bring in more people. The last thing they want is the connotation of it's bad, right? Sure. And it's filler. So I think that they have to, for the health of the service, put out Game of the Year contenders and win some a few times. Right. And when they do that, if people say, wait, there's this Game of the Year and that Game of the Year, and that was the biggest Game of the Year, and I get it here, it's almost like when inevitably the other subscription services come, you know what I mean? They need to be the de facto. And in order to do that, they have to have quality content, a good
baseline
where people are slapped like, I cannot believe I'm getting this in a subscription.
That's right.
Right. Look at Scorsese's The Irishman, right?
Yes.
Right. Somebody, and you can compare, I don't want to compare him to Kojima, but think no one would make The Irishman, right?
Yeah.
Large budget, 4-hour movie. Even though you had that cast and that director, no one thought it was a good sell, right? Because everybody, before they greenlight spending that kind of money, they got to say, okay, who's the audience for it?
Yep.
But then you have to find the audience. But it's the same thing with Kojima, right? Like if you just say here, make whatever you want, and we're going to guarantee you an audience, guess what? Now you have the eyeballs on this thing that maybe not be traditionally marketable, but because it's in the service, everyone's going to check it out.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And if it allows studios to take more risks, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's that, and I completely agree with you. I'm devil's advocating, but that is 100% where I fall on it as well. 100%. It gives the developers a more of a chance to take risks and not have to worry about kowtowing to what the quote unquote what everybody's playing or whatever. They can take a risk on something that you don't know you like until you try it. Makes perfect sense to me. So as I've put the clickbait out there with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we have just to throw it out there, because whenever the Game Pass conversation comes up, these are all the various conversations that are surrounding it. There are some out there who've had some bad experiences. Like we've been talking about the cheapening of the output of the devs, right? You and I were having conversations about 343 and the controversy there. We can tap into that a little bit. Also, there was good news on the good news front. The latest information is that Game Pass is now going to add perks. They've been doing this for a while, but the latest perk will be like a 4-month premium of Spotify. Spotify Premium gets you get 4 months extra, and as good as that is, and I think that's a great thing. I use Spotify Premium. I think adding that as a subscription perk is great. It does cue into mind some of the more fears that folks have been leveraging out there. Which, if you use Spotify Premium, you are at some point gated from a lot of things, but you don't know that because their offerings are so vast that you just sleep in the comfortable pillow that is the Spotify subscription. And until you venture out and go, oh, I didn't know they didn't have this. Oh, I didn't know that they didn't have that. So that's another thing that people are scared of, which is, hey, if we live and die by Game Pass, all of a sudden it gets to control the media landscape as far as gaming is concerned. People can't do that weird stuff anymore. The weird indie game that may not conform to people's standards will not have a chance to climb if Game Pass becomes the main focus of how gaming is experienced. What do you think of that?
But I mean, I think that just goes against the other points. I think the service in itself, because it is trying to fill as many niches as it can, that you'll get exactly the opposite. You will get those things. And, you know, I get what you're saying in that, like, okay, if that becomes the main lens through which, or prism through which we view the rest of gaming, but is that like a realistic expectation, right? Like, I don't think that anyone is going to say, okay, you know, this isn't, if it's not in Game Pass, I'm not gonna try it. I mean, maybe, right?
There are a lot of people that do that now, man. There are people like, is it in Game Pass? If not, holla at me when it is. That's already a thing.
But I mean, maybe you should get in Game Pass. But the thing is,
exactly. That's right.
I think this is going to allow for more creative things because, again,
I agree. Yeah.
Again, 100%. Like the people spending the money don't want to take the risk, and because that's a different model. We can spend $50 million on a thing, or even an independent developer, like, you know, they have to pull money from all over the place. We got to make something that people are going to play, something that has a proven track record, right? So if there's another way of getting money, because ultimately what it does is it brings in the free to play model, right, for games that traditionally would be paid for. And so user engagement is what you need. You need people playing it. You need people talking about it. And that, even if it doesn't make you money on this project, it'll make you money on the next project.
On the next project, yeah.
Right. And so, you know, and if you find the way, because I don't have a problem with microtransactions. It is the sort of pay to play that people have a problem with. If you find a way to sort of, okay, you're going to get your development costs covered by whatever deal you work out with Microsoft, because it's different for everyone. And then you'll get whatever percentage of, you know, whatever they work out for how many people are playing the game. But if you have that many eyeballs, millions of people playing your game, and you can't do anything with that, I'm sorry, that's kind of a you problem, right?
Indeed.
So I don't know. I think it's good, and I think that if there's more subscription services, which I think we're getting to, like, you know, it's so funny. Everyone wanted to cut the cord from cable, and they're like, oh, I just want to subscribe to what I want. And now there's so many streaming services that you got to subscribe to that you're paying more than you did for cable.
For cable, oh yeah, they found a way.
And then some genius is going to come up with an idea to say, hey, you want all your content put together in one place? Here's a new subscription service.
Yeah, you're absolutely
We're calling it cable.
Cable bundled together. It's amazing. It's a bundle. Can you imagine? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. 100%. So, okay. So I agree with you 100% that it does allow for creativity, and those issues are issues for tomorrow. You know, they're issues for tomorrow, not necessarily issues for today. Today, we're more about, you know, how to get folks in. There's a lot of potential, but none of them have really come to fruition. We haven't seen first party really churn anything out just yet. So I think a lot of it is just unnecessary fear for the future. Maybe they don't like the platform. Maybe they're using that as justification for not giving it the chance it deserves. So I agree with you 100%. I'm just throwing it out there because that tends to be part of the conversation every time Game Pass is brought up as hey, is this something that should be liked? Is it something that shouldn't be liked? That kind of thing. So, but let's just, before we move off of this topic, let's at least open up and beat back a little bit of that 343 controversy that has been kind of brewing in the sphere. I caught a little bit of it, but I know you were watching the video. Would you want to and just so folks, and before I'll let you give a quick synopsis of what happened there. You know, this lends to that idea that Game Pass might be detrimental. You know, it gives devs, or it gives folks a big bundle of money, and then maybe no oversight. Maybe they're able to just take that money and be frivolous with it, and still, you know, there's no repairing that situation because, oh, it's just one game among many in Game Pass. So that's been a fear that folks have had. 343 has gone back and forth as far as, you know, what happened with Halo Infinite and why it didn't come in the status it was. And you're telling me that recently, as of a few days ago, even as recently as yesterday, there's been some more on that front, correct?
Yeah, so there was an article that came out. I think it started in Reset Era and then the other publications, and just about every YouTuber in the gaming space went and picked it up, sort of saying there's an X343 dev that basically says like, the engine is, they're working on a game while they're updating an engine, and that makes things difficult. And there was talk about crunch, and there was talk about, hey, if you're expecting Halo Infinite to be an epoch-changing masterpiece, just temper your expectations, and it'll be good, but it's not. You know what I mean? And so that got spun out into being problems again. Where you know what I mean? People, references of Craig. It's gonna be this. Halo needs to be a reboot. All these things, and then I got like because of that controversy. I don't know if you were paying attention to this, but this whole thing going on with like if Halo, right? And because I put out a tweet and that said, if Halo doesn't end world hunger and fix climate change, then it's going to be a disaster, right?
I'm like, oh,
and
boy.
so like
let the trolls get started,
right? But it ended up getting like hundreds of retweets and 1,000 likes and things like that, and then people started doing their own. Some people were like, if Halo doesn't fix the last season of Game of Thrones, it's a flop. Or
it's a flop. That's right.
If Halo doesn't make the girl I like text me back, it's a flop, right?
Indeed, yes.
So, but then this thing comes out, and the actual person that was being quoted, because he was speaking in Mandarin and it was translated in Reset Era, and that's the thing that they, people were reporting on. He came out and said like he was misquoted and taken out of context. So he put out a 12-minute video. It's in the live chat. I recommend you check it out. Jez Corden tweeted about it. That's where I saw the link. Yeah. So he was basically saying like, look, you cannot take what one developer says and say that's indicative of an entire company. Do you know everything that's going on in your company? And like one person's view doesn't mean like that's going to be everyone's view, right? Different people have different experiences. And he also talked about, he reached out to everyone that was reporting this, and no one reached back out to him because that the headline's a little sexier than the nuance.
Got what they needed. Yes, they got what they needed.
In the video, in the way it was reported was that he was talking about crunch, but he was saying no, he didn't experience crunch, not forced anyway. Sometimes when you're working on things, as anyone who works on anything know, you get a vibe, right? Yeah. And then you're into it. You want to finish that thing because you either have the inspiration, or if you're coding, you're figuring something out. People do that sometimes naturally. That's not to take away from real forced crunch, but he pointed out he was at the company for 8 years, and that wasn't really a thing, at least in his experience. Could have been for someone else.
Over-reporting this issue is basically what he's trying to say.
Right. And he was also saying like, okay, I was there for 8 years, and, they allow you to take time off if you need to decompress. Right. Mm-hmm. And if they were crunching so hard, I think we would have gotten a Halo game in the last 6 years. Right?
True. Let's just be been crunching that hard.
let's be clear about that, right? Mm-hmm. And he also pointed out like, I don't know every decision that's going on. I only see, I don't even know what's going on with the whole project. And he said, if you look at, there were people talking about things that got cut from the game. Mm-hmm. If you look at any movie, there's so a director's cut, and there's cut scenes, and anyone who's done any editing would tell you it's like choosing between your children. You have to kill your children. You made this thing and you love it, so
you cannot get focused on one piece because you'll always end up sacrificing them. I've
right, because this may be good on its own, but when you look at the larger thing, it doesn't work. So those are the kind of things he's talking about, and it'd be nice if we could look at things with a little more context instead of
I will watch that
Halo
video.
Devs.
That was interesting.
Ex Halo Dev says don't like temper your expectations, right?
Right.
And then
People
everyone
love the slogans. They love the
right.
slogans. They don't like digging into the details to find out the truth. Makes sense. Yeah.
And then everyone that sort of says Halo needs to be this thing, that's really the thing that I want us to get away from, not just for Halo. And I understand that Halo has a different set of standards. I get and I appreciate that. It is, you know, it has its own place. You know what I mean? Mario and Zelda have different sets of standards, right?
To be fair to those who believe that, it's because the company themselves have put it on that pedestal, you know, detrimentally. I think I agree with you that we should let Halo surprise us. Like, take a step back, let it go quiet, let it come back with what it has to offer. But you know, Microsoft seems to love to clutching what is it, defeat from the jaws of victory. They keep putting Halo out there, and then it stumbles, and then brings up the whole.
But I think that's the problem, right? Like, I'll give you an example: WandaVision. There are a lot of people that watched WandaVision, and they said, "Oh, Mephisto has to show up in the end. This has to bring in X-Men in the end. Doctor Strange has to come in the end," and that didn't happen. And then they didn't. They was like, oh, it was a failure at the end. Like, they didn't like it. So my point is, when you go into anything that you're consuming with these expectations, instead of judging it for what it is without those sort of preconceived notions, then you can really experience it. Because if they don't do exactly what you thought in your head that you wanted it to be,
then of course,
right. And that's a problem across the board. When you watch a movie, when you play a game, you have to go in there and see what is offered, and then. But if you're predispositioned to say, I don't like this thing, or it has to change me from not liking it, it can't do that for you. Yeah. Right? Yeah, so you're saying if it doesn't change my mind and make my eyes bleed, then it's not worthy. It didn't do. That's not how you should. You shouldn't go into things like that, right? You shouldn't put anything on. And I would argue that Microsoft didn't tell you to do that, right?
No,
you should expect. You should expect a good game. You should expect a good story. You should expect something that's fun. But when you say it has to be this in relation to that, once we get to the if this then that, you haven't seen it yet. Judge it for what it is.
You can't judge it yet.
Not for what you made up in your head. Right? Because you have it basically chasing ghosts, right? Like, it needs to give me the feeling that Combat Evolved gave me, right? Or it's that, right? It can't be all things to all people. So just judge anything. And that's a book, movie,
all I'll say, I agree with you.
Everything.
I agree with you. All I'll say is the Microsoft needs to stop showing and stop telling and start showing at this point. You know, the next time we see Halo, we just need to see Halo. Don't come with the hey, we did this, hey, we did that. I like the little vlogs that they have going out. I like the screenshots they're showing. But at the end of the day, I think Halo is on that edge, and people want it to fall. Don't let it. Don't speak too much about it.
No matter what,
let it come out.
No matter what it does, people are going to say it has fallen.
Yeah. There's just no way for it to succeed at this point. But they should lead with quality, not with the conversation.
I don't know that I agree with that, because I actually like these things of I think I almost wish more developers would be more open. You don't have to give away story points. But showing the thinking that has gone into these things, I like that. I don't think we've seen any developer be sort of as transparent.
They are unusually open with all that stuff.
And
I do agree.
I'd like to see more AAA development go along that lines, because you can understand. And it tells me that everything that is in this game, they didn't just haphazardly throw it in there.
No,
you may like it, you may not. But so the amount of attention and love that is going into this thing, like that in itself is enough. So I understand your point.
You're right.
I understand your point about not talking, but I think it is good that they are being so transparent, and more developers should do that.
No, I won't argue with you that the more developers should be more transparent. It seems that even in the world where we all know that the companies are trying to get your money, Microsoft has struck a chord where they know that people like this pro-consumer kind of move. So if that helps them in the long run, that's what they're all about. And I'm there for that too. I think that's a good look for them, and they should keep doing that, because the customer responds more positively to that. So I'm there with you. So okay, I do appreciate this conversation. We could keep going on with the Game Pass conversation. I think in the long run, there's still a lot of potential in the works here, but we haven't seen it come to fruition just yet. There are those on either side with agendas, but until we see the actual output from them, we will not really be able to know full well where this will fall, whether it's detrimental to the gaming space or not. But it's interesting to keep an eye on while this is happening. We will revisit this conversation as the summer and the fall and E3 passes us by and we know more, right? So I'm excited to keep talking about it, and I will put a side caveat. The iOS version of Game Pass is not as good as the Android version because of the app. They need to work on that. There's a lot of bugs and a lot of slowness, but that's neither here nor there. But it's great because at least it's options. It's available now. It's early days. We get that,
But that is
it will be better.
I think that's the difference when you go like PWA versus native, right?
Versus the full app. Yep.
Right.
There's a lot more to tweaking.
And at that, can we talk? I'll leave it because I want to talk about Apple. And there's this conversation I have, but go ahead.
That's a conversation for another day, my friend.
Yeah, because it's going to turn into a tech talk, right?
We can double back to the Apple conversation at some point because they are also in the gaming space. Their Apple Arcade is quietly gobbling up a lot of market share. I used to be a member of it. I after a month or two of sign up, I kind of dashed it for various reasons. That's a conversation for another day, as is the conversation for Oculus, which we've also said we want to have a conversation about. I'm loving my Oculus Quest. We'll have
the Quest or the Quest 2.
I have the Quest 2. I actually sold my Quest 1 and got a Quest 2, which I think is both great and not so great, but that's for another day. But before we go, we're still on a little bit of time. I wanted to just double back and have a quick conversation about the games that we're going to be playing in the weeks to come. I usually I want to gather some games that I saw in the sphere that are coming up between now and the next time we meet, and just talk about it. See if you're excited for any of them, if it's any of them that we're going to try and play. And let me see. I just grabbed a couple here. There's not too many of them. Let's see. May 3rd, which it should already be out now. Dragon Quest Builders 2. Have you tried that? It's on Game Pass.
I have not. I don't know that I have interest to try that. But what is it? What is it about?
It's basically, Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I know Dragon Quest.
Right. For those who don't really know Dragon Quest, derivative descriptor. Dragon Ball Z characters, if you will, right? In a JRPG setting, right? But Dragon Quest Builders, Minecraft. It's all of that,
No. Dragon Quest is huge. Did you see the Dragon Quest movie on Netflix?
I did not know that.
No. Like, you have to watch it. Like,
really?
The ending is going to straight up blow your mind.
Okay, I will write that down. Dragon Quest movie. All right.
Look for Dragon Quest on Netflix. It's a CG animated movie.
For sure. Yeah, I love their CG movies on Netflix. They do great work.
Do not but the budget, it's a big Pixar level budget kind of thing.
Dude, speak no more. You got me. I did not know that. I've watched all the Castlevanias and all the other stuff they do out there.
No. This
I'm down. I didn't know they had that. That's great. Cool. I'll check that out.
I need to talk to you about that, actually. Go ahead. I don't want to get caught up because you haven't seen it. Maybe
okay. Yeah, no, for sure. If you want, I'll watch that and we'll chop it up on.
And I'm just waiting for the mind blown emoji that you sent me after you watch it.
Yeah, okay. So it's on Game Pass. Usually I'm not really big into this kind of stuff, but as has been said on many occasions, the reason why you want to try it is because then the developers see that these kind of games have a space here and maybe more of their games will come. You don't have to pay for it. It's on Game Pass. So
I don't want more Minecraft games, but I understand your point. But I take your meaning.
Yeah. So then May 7th also has recently hit us. Resident Evil Village. I'm sure you're already in the middle of that. Now. I will wait until the dust settles before I creep into danger.
I'm trying to see if I can beat it this weekend. To be honest with you, we'll see.
Wow. Okay.
We'll see how the family duties treat me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've actually been trying to replay. What do you call it? Horizon Zero Dawn. I have, as you know, my new PC.
I played that last week. Are you playing on PC? On the PS5.
21-inch widescreen PC 3080 beast. It's a thing. I got to try it out. It's beautiful. I love that game. I mean, I've beaten it on PS.
I don't know that I like the traversal in it. I don't know if she's as like agile as I'd like her to be.
You get into it. You click at some point. It just clicks, and you get all your tools. You know what it's so immersive.
I've only played it for like an hour, right? Like I'm about to do
the tools. You have to give it a shot, because once you get in there, it's exciting. I do love that game. You know, that's my Sony, man. It's what they do. I love that game. I'm excited for the next one. So that's also out there. We have Resident Evil. I keep hearing about this one, although it wasn't really on my radar. Hood, Outlaw, and Legends.
I wasn't impressed by the trailer for that. People were, but I was like, it felt generic to me. I'll check it out again. If it's not in Game Pass, I'm gonna have to watch some people play it before I decide I want it.
It's one of those that might end up there. We're not sure yet. It might, you don't know, because it's kind of a timid response by the public. People have been speaking about it.
They should be in Game Pass.
That's what happened to Outriders. So we don't know. We shall see, So there's that. And then, of course, the game that I'll be playing. I've beaten it multiple times, but of course, I'm a sucker, so I will jump once and again. May 14th, Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
You going to play it in that 120?
I don't know. Well, obviously. So, okay. If it's a console, it's most likely Xbox, right? Because that's just what I do. But I might just play this on PC because I have this machine that just can do so much now.
You're turning into a PCMR guy, man.
No, but you know what I usually do? Even on like Game Pass games, since they do allow for that, you could play it here, play it there, cross save, cross progression, all that. I never even worry about it because I spend a lot of my days in my office, right? So I may have it running in the office, and then later on I go play it on the OLED on the console, right? So in this case, that probably won't be allowed. There won't be any of that, but I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. So are you going to play that as well, the Legendary Edition?
I want to see it in 120. So
yeah,
I'm going to get my money.
I do too.
So
yeah, it's going to be buttery smooth. Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to try that. One thing I forgot that I was playing, and I didn't know that this was a thing, is you remember Rocket Knight Adventure, a Konami game for the Genesis?
Yeah, really old school. Yes. The name sounds familiar.
They actually brought it back in 2010. It's a side scroller.
They rebooted it, right?
I'm playing it on Steam right now.
Okay, cool.
On PC. Because I'm a sucker for side scrollers, right? Like
scratching that old school itch.
Right. I'll spend most of my time in things like Streets of Rage. I can't wait for the Turtles game to come out.
I can't wait for the Turtles game to come out. That's totally my bag.
I'm not really, believe it or not, I'm not really into first person games. I'll play them for the bigger ones. But for me, those old school kind of games, I'm all over it. So, but anyway, I forgot to mention that. But Rocket Knight Adventure, check it out on PC. It's a really well put together game. So sorry, continue.
Very cool. No worries. We're rounding the bottom of the show at this point. We're trying to keep it nice and tight, so we're close to the bottom of the show. I appreciate all the conversation we've had so far about this. As I said, we will be revisiting a lot of these conversations again as the generation matures and there are new games we're excited for. You will most likely hear me next week talk about how much I remember and love Mass Effect Legendary, because that's probably what's going to take up most of my time. But before then, we're just gonna be playing the games. We're gonna be, doing the FPS boost games. I'm still playing a few of those as well. I suspect that Monday will be more news drops, as they all tend to be. I'm looking forward to the next PlayStation game. I'm still cranking away at Returnal. The whole the door lock bug happened to me once. When I first talked to you about it, I was very much in the camp of, I've been playing it for hours and I haven't died. And then one happened to me a little bit here and there. Now I'm dying willy-nilly. I'm like taking risks. I don't care anymore. It's gonna bug out on me anyway.
That happened to me after I died on the boss of the first biome. I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep running and try to get back to him. I'm not killing anybody. Let me just get back to that room. So I'm gonna come back to it.
I'm still looking forward to playing.
I love that it's like an arcade style game, but I want to beat that in Resident Evil before Ratchet comes out, because after that,
good luck. Ratchet's also on the list. It's definitely that's the next game that will get my $70 gladly. This got my $70, but I wasn't so glad about it afterwards. Like, as I've heard others say, is it a worthy game? Yes. Is it $70 worthy? In my humble opinion, it is not. In my humble opinion,
No, I think you got to be a
in my
known
opinion.
quantity. I'm fine with the idea of certain games that have earned that, but if you're a new game,
if you're God of War coming out and you want to charge me $70, I'll pay $70 for the new God of War because you're a known quantity that I will, that I know what to expect as far as the scope and scale. This was great, and I will continue to play it, and I do continue to like it, but I don't like a world where $70 is the standard. This could have been a little less, and then the other ones that are bigger in scope can be justifiably more, and that's fine. That's just my opinion. If you paid for it and you appreciated it and you're still loving it, hey, good for you. This will make it a little difficult for me next time that a game of this caliber comes out. I may be a bit more, I may wait for the reviews and things like that before I decide to plunk the money down, but that's neither here nor there. Anything you want to discuss last minute before we go, Mr. Everborn?
I wanted to talk about the fiasco with Returnal, but I think everybody knows where that is. Okay. One other thing. Have you heard about the redesign for the PS5 that they were saying may happen?
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. I don't think that's a thing specifically because of the chip shortage. TSMC. Now, okay, I won't go too heavy on the tech, but for those who don't know, TSMC and Intel are the only chip makers out there. Apple has started their little onesie twosies here, but they do it very in a proprietary fashion for their uses. That's fine. If you are AMD or Intel, you have your own chip manufacturing houses. TSMC is AMD's big dog, right? They handle all of it. So Microsoft and or Sony comes up with the idea. They work with them to find a good thing with AMD, and then TSMC is the hands in the pot that actually execute. They've already come out and said, hey, y'all need to pump your brakes. The reason why your 3080s are backlogged, the reason why all these things are backlogged is because they have a lot of jobs, including places like Tesla and all of them also requiring chips. They all have to go to TSMC. Intel's not getting any work.
Hey, right? What's something we should point out here that I don't think we talk about almost ever? Rwanda, that's like where the biggest coltan mines are. And those are the things that make the chips, right? That's what you need to make these chips. And, we could get into the whole,
we can get into that. Yes.
Hotel Rwanda was really about.
Don't get me triggered, my friend. Don't get me started.
My point is, I think that we don't actually think about where these things come from and the cost that it actually bears on other people around the world.
That is another conversation for a whole show. That is a conversation it requires a bit of research. It requires a bit of understanding, and we will present that because you make a perfect point. 100%. Folks don't spend the time to really think of where it starts, where all these chips are coming from. So when you're complaining about your PlayStation not being there or your 30 series card not happening, it's not just, Amazon's not delivering them or Newegg doesn't have them available or PlayStation's not making them fast enough. It's the coal, the mines may not have what you're looking for anymore, and they have to tap a different mine. The workers may not be able to work as hard as they need to produce that on a 24-hour by 7 clip so that everybody can get their new tech. That's a whole different conversation.
If anyone's watching this, I would just ask them to Google Rwanda and Google coltan. And that's it. Yeah. And then go down the rabbit hole, see what you find.
Go down the rabbit hole of that. Yes, for sure. But at a high level, TSMC is besides Intel, TSMC is the world's chip maker. And they've already basically come out and told the world, pump your brakes. We are backlogged till 2023, right? Based off of what we currently have, right? So there's just no way. And hey, I'm looking forward to being wrong. I'm the tech guy. I love new tech. There's no way I can see that PlayStation will go, okay, we'll give up our process that we have currently today and go for the new 6 nanometer chip when TSMC, they're the main house that makes them, even the current backlog is not enough. The current amount of PlayStation 5s and Xboxes and Tesla chips and AMD chips and retail chips and graphics cards, all of those are backlogged heavily, unless they're ready to build a new chip manufacturing factory, which also takes years to get off the ground. I don't think they may have ideas, but as far as, hey, in 2 years, in 3 years, you'll see a whole new slew of PlayStation 5s with a different chip process. I find that hard to believe, based on the world we live in today.
Somebody said, they never believed that this was the final form of the PlayStation 5.
Oh no, I know for sure it's not the final form. We've seen that historically.
I said that's probably why the design looks like Frieza from Dragon Ball.
Sure, yes, because it's gonna start peeling layers off. Oh, I didn't even show you. I may take a picture and share it online. I changed the plates, so mine now is dark plates, left and right, and it's all matte.
I don't have the. I'm not as brave as you, sir. Mine is gonna stay vanilla until I know I can buy another one in the store if I mess it up.
Oh no, don't worry. I have the other plates available, so I can put it back on if need be. But I had to make it black because it just looked like an eyesore in my living room.
You're a better man than me, sir. I'm not doing it. I'm not touching nothing.
It looks much better in the living room now. Now it sits nice next to the black Xbox. It's good.
I have 2 PS5s and 2 Series X's in my house. And my son has one of the PS5s. I want to get a third one because I want to get one for the bedroom. So if you come across one,
okay, yeah. I tend to come across a lot of Series S's, and I'm actually thinking of getting one myself. I have too many Xboxes in my house, though. I have too many.
Oh no, I got a Series S for the girls. I got my son a PS5.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I have the refrigerator, the Xbox One, and I have an Xbox One X, right? And if you use the Xbox, they're all the same except for the throughput, except for the output, right? So it's like, why? I could just repurpose my VCR in another room versus getting a new one. Yeah, but I don't really need the ray tracing in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of repurposing the old ones.
I do. I was because I got the CX in the living room, and I was gonna get a TCL for the bedroom, but then I was
King touch against it.
Yes. so I got a 65 CX in the living room and a 55 in the bedroom. So
I'm telling you, LG should be cutting a check to King David OTW.
I think they are not.
They better be.
I think King David might be taking some payola from LG, man.
Yo, if they are not, they better be, because that man has single-handedly sold so much of their stock. I'm telling you. Anyway, so we'll end it on that note right now. We appreciate all who have been able to watch, anybody who's able to catch this on VOD, where obviously this is a podcast where we take a topic and we kind of break it apart, delve deep, try to find some understanding in it, try to get beyond the your favorite plastic versus my favorite plastic. We're all gamers and we love all the plastic around here.
I love some plastic more than others, but that's.
I was about to say, these days I'm liking my 3080 bang a little hard now.
DCMR, man.
I won't say that because then you have to fiddle with all the drivers and all the blah blah blah. But
exactly,
that's a story.
That's the true PC exclusive.
That's the true PC experience, indeed. But we will be back next week with another topic that we will hopefully be able to chop up. Hopefully the news gods will have something interesting for us to discuss. But until then, Mr. Everborn, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere. That is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox.
Videos up
we do, and but more importantly, you can check out everbornsaga.com. That's where you can get yourself ingratiated with the series we're putting together. I always keep a copy here to show that you can get these for yourself now. Check out everbornsaga.com. If you haven't already, get into the thing. We as you know, the first Kickstarter was a massive success, and then we got a new series coming out very soon, which you have seen some of, but we will talk about that at a future date. So everbornsaga.com and Everborn Saga on your favorite social media platform.
Wonderful. And you can catch me on Twitter, K_Asante. You can catch me on, you could actually find me on PlayStation and Xbox under the Angry Old Gamer. I've had that YouTube, I've had that game attack for a while now. I'm thinking of changing it. because people go, "Are you that angry?" You're usually not angry. You're a jovial guy. I'm like, well, my anger is internal. But yes, we'll see about that. You can catch me on there. You can we can always game together. Find me, and I'm always looking to game with new folks. I'm still on my mission to finish all of the campaign achievements on Halo Master Chief Collection. I think 80% of the way through. I've been playing that game for years. I've been playing it everywhere I can, trying to get achievements. I think I even have a group that folks join with me, and from time to time we can co-op. So find me out there. Let's game together. Appreciate anybody who's been able to catch this. And if we're into your feedback, like, subscribe, ask us to leave some feedback on what you want to watch, what topics you want us to discuss. We're open for that. But until next time, it was our pleasure having this conversation. Until the next time, have a good one.